sacrament. Lucy's got her coffee, the eighth sacrament. Yes, yes, we do. Well, good morning, friends. We are small and mighty this morning, and that is just fine. That is just fine. We know what the small and mighty did with Jesus a long time ago, and the ripple effects that come from that. So my name's Laura Geddes, for those that don't already know me. I'm welcoming those that are here incarnationally, as well as those that are watching live and because we're streaming. So we're glad to be here with you to share a little bit more about MICAH and the issues and the ways in which community is empowering itself to gather and to make a bigger impact, particularly in some of the areas that Memphis needs some of the most work and help and support and energy. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. There'll be time for some Q&A, but we've got slides, and we also are going to have some time to talk to somebody. And so I'm just going to go ahead and give you the heads up now. When the time comes for what we call the turn and talk, you can't turn and talk to your best friend or your aunt or your husband, because y'all know each other. You got to find somebody that you might not know quite as well. And so I'm just going to give you that heads up, okay? All right. Well, with that, I'm not going to take any more time, but I am going to invite us to begin with a prayer. The Lord be with you.
And also with you.
Let us pray. Gracious God, we give you thanks for the gift of community and all the ways that it comes together to be your hands and feet in the world, as you call us all to do justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with you. Be with us now as we listen, as we live more deeply into our baptismal covenant, to respect the dignity of every human being, and to serve as a community that is one of hope, belonging, and healing. In your name we pray. Amen. I'm going to turn this time over to Murray.
Good morning. I'm Murray McKay. I've been a member at Grace St. Luke's here for 25 years or so. I'm also currently one of our delegates to MICAH and a member of the MICAH governing board. MICAH is an organization, Memphis Interfaith Coalition for Action and Hope. It was started roughly 2018 by a group of churches and church leaders in Memphis who looked around and saw we had a great organization for doing charity, for addressing the effects of injustice. But what we didn't have was an organization that was designed to address the causes of injustice. So they sent out word to all the churches trying to get everybody involved and trying to figure out who they're going to be. At the time, we were in the middle of a rector search. So at 2018, when they started up, Grace St. Luke's wasn't one of the initial members because we just thought it sounded like a great idea, but probably wasn't the right time for us. So we joined in about 2020. The intent of MICAH is to amplify the activities of member organizations to address and change the causes of injustice. Basically, it does that by teaching people to be better organizers and by bringing people together to organize with each other to wield political power. Organizing people, organizing money. Mission statement, equipping people of faith and goodwill to organize communities for systemic change through collective action. So basically, we're primarily faith-based, though not limited to that. We're not exclusively Christian. We also have Jewish and Muslim brothers and sisters, and a few Hindus and other faiths involved. But we do take a faith-oriented approach to things. So faith and goodwill, organizing communities, it's all about organization. MICAH, the first thing you start dealing with MICAH, you want to sit down and have one-on-ones or turn and talks. And it's all about learning who you are and who your neighbors are so that you can work together to figure out what needs to be improved and how you can go about doing it. Also, because we're essentially trying to wield political power, the more people you can get involved, the more those that are in positions of power are willing to listen to you. We tend to concentrate on a small number of issues. This is simply a practical matter. If you try to do everything, you're going to have success nowhere. We want to have some successes, so we try to narrow down to about 3 broad issues known as pillars. By going through what we've been concentrating on, we recently had a issues convention where we've been working on the same issues since 2018, and we adjusted a little bit what issues we're working on as of 2025. Basic organization is MICAH is made up of partner organizations. Okay, I'm going too slow. Well, we're an organization of organizations. So say we want all the churches. Well, we've got 55 different partner organizations, churches, labor unions, other groups in the city. Each of those partner organizations sends delegates to the MICAH meetings, essentially as representatives, which the delegates have voting on what we do. They make up the leadership council. Leadership council votes in a board of directors, which is the governing board. Also tends to run the task forces. Task forces are where the actual work is done. That's where we're focusing on issues, trying to make changes. Everything else here is to support the task forces. We've got a small staff, 4 or 5 people, professional organizers, etc. We've got 55 members. I'm not going to go through them, but a lot of people you've heard of are members. Pillars we currently have, up until current thing, we had race and class equity in the justice system, which is a really broad topic dealing with both policing and pre-arrest and when you get into incarceration and sentencing and all that. We know Memphis has real problems there. We have changed that a little bit, focus area for 2025. Education equity, we're active up until the last issues convention. Here we're trying to improve the Memphis school system, and when I say Memphis, I'm talking Memphis and Shelby County, while we have other groups who work with statewide and nationwide, primarily our focus is local. Economic equity, here we've been dealing with the transit system and housing. Last issues convention, 2 of the economic equity subgroups became pillars. So essentially, we've gone from economic equity, housing and transit, to a housing pillar and a transit pillar. So we've narrowed our focus a little bit. The intent there is to actually have positive impact and make a difference. We'd love to fix everything, but let's start somewhere. Transit equity, so here trying to get MICAH so it's an effective system for getting people to and from work and to and from where they need to go. Youth Council. This concentrates on middle and high school, and they're essentially independent group, picks their own issue. They have been focusing on not really gun safety, but public safety in terms of gun control. Voter engagement, we're trying to build political power. One way of doing that is getting out voters. So we've got a lot of work here also in doing voter engagement. I think that gets me up to where I'm not sure who talks next.
Thank you. I hope Barb will be smiling with me as she did with Murray. Meeting the time. I have enjoyed my time working with MICAH to date, and I'm going to use a little picture for you. You know, you take a pebble and you throw it onto a pond, and then you get a lot of ripple effects. So small but mighty, small group of people here in the core group at GSL, but very present in the work of MICAH. I'm very proud of that. I have had 3 wonderful experiences being involved with MICAH. And first one is with the immigration platform. So it's not a task force, but if you listen to my voice, you'll know that I wasn't born here, and so I was very drawn to the immigration platform. And the experience that I had there is that with the current climate and with the situation as it is, MICAH came together with a number of past teachers, immigration lawyers, their assistants, and some other people who are of immigrant descent. And we came together and created a statement of support for immigrants who live here. And with that small pebble coming together, we made a statement, and we explored all of the constitutional things. We explored all of the ACLU recommendations, and we came up with a statement. And as a result of that statement, one small ripple effect that I'm aware of is that they now have a term called cafecito, and it's done by the Promise Academy, and it's done for the children in that school and their parents. So we can't change what's going on right now, but we can make moves to help people to be more effective. So what if an immigrant parent is detained? Then they need a power of attorney. We need notaries who can help them to fill out those forms. We need a forum where those people can come, they can feel safe, and they can learn about their rights. And so I'm very tickled about my involvement in that statement. I like wordsmithing, and we were able to come together with a statement that then grew outwards in energy to form that cafecito. Second thing that I like is that you can fit into the work of MICAH just as you are. You don't have to be a big public speaker. You don't have to know all of the terms as Murray and Laura and Barb would know. But there's something that I like to do. I like to cook, and I like to make things happen so that people can have an environment in which to do their work. And so at the last Issues Convention, I was able to do that in terms of logistics. All the registration, all the food that you ate, where you came in, all the signage, daycare or childcare, deaf sign language people, all of those wonderful things. And the beauty of it is that the group was just like 2 or 3. So to be able to live within that format of people coming together to effect change, where those new issues can be chosen, really means a lot to me. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Kathy, and I returned home to Memphis after 14 years away in Fayetteville, Arkansas. And when meeting people when I first moved here, I would invariably hear them ask me where I was from, and then more often than not, I would hear some version of this. Northwest Arkansas is so beautiful and so safe. Why would you come back here? Memphis is so dysfunctional and so dangerous. You should have stayed in Arkansas. Well, I did love Fayetteville, Arkansas. I became an Episcopalian in Fayetteville, Arkansas. So when I moved back to Memphis, it was easy for me to find my way here to Grace St. Luke's. On my first Sunday here, I noticed an invitation in the bulletin to come to Grace St. Luke's MICAH Core Group monthly meeting on the second Wednesday of each month. I was struck by what the invitation said. It said, "Come hear how your voice and power is needed to amplify the change and hope needed in our community." So I went, And I met a few like-minded folks at that meeting, and I made some new, lasting, and enduring friendships. And I was invited to attend, soon after that first meeting, MICAH's recovenanting ceremony, where all the core groups came together. And I saw hundreds, I mean hundreds of Memphians from all walks of life on their faith journeys gathered together for one common goal. And I'll read it. To celebrate the progress we've made and renew our pledge to stand together. To make our city a good and just place for all Memphians. I was hooked. So whenever I hear anyone question why I moved from Northwest Arkansas to the dangerous and dysfunctional city of Memphis, I assume they haven't heard of MICAH, and I am happy to share the good news of hope and healing that MICAH brings to Memphis and the hundreds of folks involved in the work of MICAH that I am blessed to be a part of. Thank you.
I started going to MICAH core team meetings, which is basically the local group in Great St. Luke's. In about 2020, I think I just completed the Beloved Community classes and knew from experience that charity was a great thing, but I was also called to try to fix some of the underlying causes. So we needed some systemic address. I wanted to figure out how I could do something. Got to the MICAH stuff, and all they wanted to talk about was one-on-ones. And it's like, I've been an introvert for my entire life. I went into engineering, so we didn't have to talk to people. And now they'd say, okay, now we want you to talk to people. It took me several years before I really got to the point of kind of understanding what this was and why. And where I ended up plugging in, because I was just like looking at all the pillars, is like, all these are important, what am I supposed to do? But I kept saying, well, what is MICAH doing? And couldn't find the answers. So I started plugging into the communications group. And I can't say as I've made it much better yet, but I'm working on it. Well, next thing you know, co-chair of the communications committee, which automatically puts me on the board of directors. So now I'm helping to run the bloody thing. But also, they kept saying, okay, we need y'all to go to this national leadership training. They didn't really explain what it was. But said, okay, we need somebody to go. It's like, well, I've just retired and I've got some time, so why don't I give this a shot? Well, I did. It's not a comfortable, happy thing. They're trying to train you to be an organizer and help you find your motivation to be an organizer. That is not a fun or comfortable thing, but I learned a lot about myself and learned what I can do and what I need to do and why I'm doing it. So that was a good thing for me. Now they want me to be an organizer. I don't think that's ever going to happen, but I can be behind the scenes trying to help stuff. Where my passion comes in is addressing or helping those made homeless. And I would like to have universal housing in Memphis. Had June lived, we might have been able to get there. But what I can do now is things on the I'm drawing a blank on what our thing is, but basically we're addressing the police issues. So transformative justice is our current pillar on that. And because one of the things that makes it really hard for people who don't have a fixed address is when we use the justice system to get them off the street so we don't have to look at them. And that's an area where I can have an impact.
Now, can you hear me? May we have a round of applause for those stories and sharings, please? Yeah. Thank you. We wanted you to hear the impact that that people have experienced personally in their involvement with MICAH. Will you move the next slide for me, Murray? Because we're going to now do some of what you've been hearing a little bit about. MICAH is so much about relationships, learning about our neighbors, what they're encountering, who they are, who we are, and what that means for us together. So you've heard some about one-on-ones, and that's some of the way in which we do that. So we're going to do what we call a turn and talk, same kind of idea as one-on-ones. And the idea is that you're going to have just a few minutes to pair up with somebody whom you don't know as well. Be willing to maybe be a little uncomfortable if that does, and move across the room to somebody whom maybe you've seen but you don't know very well. And each person is going to have 3 minutes. We'll help you with the time. 3 minutes to answer both of these questions or just one. You get to choose. But the questions are these. What energizes you about our community of Memphis? And the other is, what keeps you up at night and why? These questions are a bit based on what one-on-ones are like. It's not about talking about the weather and, just light things. We want to get to kind of the heart of it. What are things that keep you up at night? What are things that light you on fire when it comes to our community? Those are the kind of things that we want to hear and learn from one another. So, we all move around if you need to, or turn to somebody whom you don't know well and find somebody. Give you just a second or two to do that. Don't be afraid. And if you don't have somebody, let us know and we'll help you find that person. We'll make sure. Hold on, Lucy. Oh, there you go. All right, friends, come on over. Hey, Melanie, come on in. Edith, you want to come meet somebody named Melanie? It's Michelle. Sorry, I said Melanie. All right, everybody has 3 minutes if you haven't started. Your first person goes for 3 minutes talking about these 1 or 2 questions, and we'll let you know when you've got 1 more minute left. All right, if you haven't begun to wrap up so that the other person can share, begin to do that. And then our other friend, it's time for your 3 minutes to share and to talk about these questions. All right, as you're able, begin to wrap up your time together, and then we're going to come back to the large group. Okay, friends, it's time to wrap it up. But y'all are a chatty group, and I like that. That's good. That's kind of the idea, too. So just a few minutes before we move into Q&A, but it's always important to hear what was being heard and what was being shared. No one must, but all may. Something that you shared, or if you're able and the person gives you permission to share what you heard from the other. But as a group, what things stood out to you? What did you hear in any of these questions or learnings or aha moments? Anybody care to share?
I don't know what to share, really. I haven't been a Memphian in a long time, but I feel that I am a Memphian, and I feel ambassadorial about it in my hometown of Charleston, South Carolina. And so we were just talking, if you don't mind me mentioning it. And so you were saying that you didn't have a sense of community where you could knock on the door because we weren't born in this new digital age where you just had stopovers, which is what I remember as a child, living 4 houses down. So you would just have all these great things. Well, so I've taken that and then brought it to Charleston. So I rarely use my cell phone. I have a shop where people show up, and you can only take care of about 20 people unless you're a part of a community in which you're all like-minded. And then those 20 people start taking care of more 20 people. So and so that's what I've created in Charleston. And people know not to call me. They just show up. And that's how I think that I've become an ambassador for, really, I want to say Memphis, but, you know, I mean, it's like, it took a long time for my family to leave here in the form of me and to go out into the world. So that's what I took from it. But I love Memphis. As a Memphian, you don't see yourself as an individual, but you are. This is a very distinct culture, and it's unique, and it's musical, and it's happy. And that's all I'm saying.
I like that ambassadorship. Thank you, Nielsen. What else did you hear? What else did you notice?
So I noticed you're talking about
Our time. What did you hear?
at this table. Oh, I just heard one-on-ones in the shop when people came in. So one of the things about Memphis that my table wanted to celebrate is that it's still a family-oriented city, and but wishes that the community could be a little cleaner, like take care of some of the blight. There was a feeling that there's lots of free opportunities to celebrate different groups of people in Memphis, so that's a nice thing. Concerns are about safety, you know, about affording health care, and there's a hope that the trend for improving things for citizens within Memphis will continue, for health, for safety, and for opportunities to work.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else want to share something that stood out? All right. Well, thank you for those. I think it's always important to kind of regather and hear, but it's also nice to have it one-on-one, because I think sharing can happen in a more intentional and individual way when it's not necessarily in the large circle too. So you've just experienced, if you've never before, a one-on-one and a turn and talk. So congratulations, y'all. Y'all are already a member of MICAH. So we've now given you a lot of information, but also you've had the chance to experience some of MICAH. And we didn't know if some of what you might have heard, or maybe some of what you didn't hear, that there's some holes, things that you want to know more about, but this is kind of our Q&A time. I'm mindful, so as you start to think about maybe something that stood out, or you have a question on, or something that puzzled you, I'm mindful of something that Murray said that I always appreciated about MICAH, that we're a political group. We are political, and we are not partisan. And those are two different things. Political being this idea of systems, the larger systems around education, housing, incarceration in the justice system, immigration, those areas, those institutions, those concepts, but not even concepts, those things in our community that shape us, that still have a lot of work to do. Jesus was big time into making sure people had enough food to eat, right? But what are the reasons that people don't have food to eat? What are the systems in place that are keeping that back? So very political. I think of Jesus as very political, but he wasn't partisan. And partisan, of course, Democrat, Republican, taking a party size that way. So political, but not partisan. And I think that intentionality and that difference is important to note too. So sometimes there are questions on that. What else? What else can we add or share? Any questions? Anybody remember what MICAH stands for? Thank you, Ollie. Mm-hmm. Memphis Interfaith Coalition for Action and Hope. Mm-hmm.
So one piece that may be of interest in these focus groups is that housing equity and transit equity and transformative justice have task force. And each task force has a committee and group, and they determine actions, or what are the things that we want to affect change. And the target will be to connect and have relationship, these one-on-ones and things, with some of the community leaders, and have coalitions with other organizations. So we may not champion something, but we may join in, so that there's more power in numbers. And so that's kind of how it plays out. So they've identified these focus groups. Now they're developing it. So we'll hear more about it in the near future, but right now they're like a duck in a pond. They look calm, but they're just paddling their little legs underneath right now. But we'll hear more.
Thank you. Thank you. Dawn.
So I just like to piggyback off of what Barb just said. So sometimes you're lending your presence to a group that's asking an administrative group to be accountable. So I did a day on the Hill for Education, and I'm blown away by the young people from throughout the state of Tennessee, and I'm impacted by the fact that a lot of groups partner together. So it's people from Nashville, people from Chattanooga. They had some people who came in from Florida and Alabama and South Carolina to support that cause. And of course, you know, the whole thing for the state takeover of education did not leave committee. So the impact is incremental, but paddling at the bottom, the work continues. It never stops. So you can just lend your body to a group of people.
I really like what you're saying about that too, because there's so many ways to do that. Being on the Hill, coming and doing a postcard party. Some of y'all have done that before. Some of y'all have joined me down at City Hall. Some of you have come to Issues Night and meetings. There are all sorts of ways. Whether you feel ready to go downtown, whether you feel ready to have a poster, whether you feel ready to go to the state, there's all sorts of ways for your comfort level to be a part of this energy. That's an important takeaway we wanted you to see. And something happens. Look at those handouts that you have on your table if you haven't already. The list of members and partners, it's a great list because something happens when we come together and amplify our voices. We're not as strong when we're just splintered off one-on-one by ourselves, but when we come together, there is power. Our mayor, Paul Young, listens to MICAH. He invites us and asks us, and we challenge him as well, to things that are being considered, and have invitation to be with him on some of different groups and conversations that are going on for the community. It's because we've gathered ourselves, and that is where the power is. So we wouldn't be as strong if we didn't have each other. And there again is the community and knowing our neighbors. So that's your little party favor, if you will, for you to take home. It not only shows you who all of the delegates are, but also when our meetings are, and how you can find out more about MICAH on the website. And on the back, I'm looking with Lucy, on the back is the list of partners. Anything else that we need to highlight? Thank you to Murray for putting this together. All right, one more thing, and then we'll have closing.
Please visit the website and look at the calendar. In the past, we've done hybrid meetings, and I'm not so sure that they will continue, but there's an opportunity to attend by Zoom if you can't. And then they'll put you into the various meeting rooms virtually. That's a new thing for me. So please, you can also, there are action items to each meeting. You can click a link. You can send a message to your local congressman or whatever. So you don't have to be there in person all the time.
Or if you just want to occasionally participate, go into Realm and go into the groups. There'll be a place where the MICAH core team sign up to get notifications. Because I tried to put the various notifications of actions we're taking, going to City Hall to talk to the mayor, or we're marching for better education, or whatever. I'll put notifications on there. If you get them, you see them, then you can come in and participate and not have to get any more involved with MICAH if you don't feel like it. The other thing you could do is sign up for the newsletter directly from MICAH, which will have a lot of these same things.
So somebody asked, what is the purpose? What is our purpose for gathering today and talking about MICAH? One of the purposes is that we don't have to stand or sit around and wring our hands and say there's nothing that we can do. There's nothing that can be done. With all that is chaotic, with all that needs work, you know, it's too big. Well, there is a lot. There's no question. But there's so much that can and is being done right now. We wanted you to hear about it. We wanted you to hear some of the successes and the long-term work that this is, that justice work is, and then ways in which you can join and be a part. So we hoped we piqued your interest, your curiosity, and invited you to consider all the ways that your presence is needed and that your gifts are wanted. So with that, I think we're going to draw to a close, and we're going to do kind of a call and response, which we do often as a part of closing our time in MICAH. And I hope this is going to be large enough that y'all can see. Can y'all see that okay? Yeah? All right, so y'all are the people, and I will kind of begin as the leader, and we'll go back and forth, okay? Can everybody see? Okay. We are here because the work of justice is always collective. Together we seek the wholeness of every part of our city. We are here because I do not have all the answers, but I do have some. And you do not have all the answers, but you do have some. Together we have all that we need. We are here because leaders need to be led. We will answer the call to follow and to chart the course. We are here to encourage and spur one another on to works of good trouble. We will agitate and never accommodate injustice. We are here because we cannot move the mountains of economic, criminal, and education injustice alone. But together we can and must uproot them and cast them into the sea. We are here because Memphis cannot know peace unless it knows justice. We are here because we are prisoners of hope, who transform pain into action. We are here to see one another. And to be seen. We are here because all that is required for evil to flourish is for good human beings to do nothing but, when 2 or 3 are gathered, there is power. Go in peace, good people, to love and serve the Lord. Thank you for being here.